In the dim light of a forgotten barn, a skeletal horse named Chance lay on the cold, dirt floor, his ribs visible, his spirit nearly extinguished. Left to die by those who once claimed to care for him, he was a shadow of the majestic creature he had once been. But fate had other plans. A young girl named Olivia, barely 13 years old, stumbled upon him during a walk through the countryside. What she saw broke her heart, but it also ignited a fire within her. Determined to save this broken soul, Olivia embarked on a journey that would test her strength, resilience, and belief in miracles. Olivia wasn't new to challenges. Growing up on a modest farm had taught her grit and determination. Yet nothing could have prepared her for the uphill battle ahead. With limited resources and unwavering resolve, she vowed to bring Chance back from the brink of death, not just to survive, but to thrive. This isn't just a story about saving a horse. It's a testament to the power of love, patience, and the unbreakable bond between humans and animals. This tale will remind you that even in our darkest moments, hope can bloom where despair once reigned. It's a story of redemption, purpose, and the extraordinary heights we can reach when someone believes in us, even when we've stopped believing in ourselves. Through Olivia's courage and Chance's resilience, we are reminded that second chances aren't just possible, they're transformative. If this story resonates with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more inspiring tales of courage, compassion, and triumph over adversity. Stay tuned as we dive deeper into Olivia and Chance's incredible journey, a story that proves no dream is too big and no challenge insurmountable. Have you ever witnessed or experienced a moment of redemption that changed everything? Let us know in the comments below. The midday sun hung heavy over the dusty auction ground, casting long shadows as the last few horses were brought into the ring. The crowd had thinned. Most buyers were already satisfied with their acquisitions. Only a handful of people remained, idly watching as the auctioneer's voice grew hoarse. "Lot 34, he called out, slapping his clipboard with visible impatience. 3-year-old stallion, Mustang breed, severely underweight. Starting bid, $50. A murmur spread through the remaining crowd. Some tilted their heads in mild curiosity, while others shook their heads in disdain. The horse that stumbled into the ring was a pitiful sight. His coat, once a rich bay, was dull and patchy. His ribs jutted out painfully, and his eyes lacked the fire of a proud animal. He looked like a ghost of what he might have been. He should have been sent to slaughter, someone muttered from the sidelines. A few nodded in agreement, turning their backs on the ring. Olivia stood at the edge of the crowd, her hands gripping the fence tightly. She hadn't planned to come today. Her parents had strictly told her they didn't have money to spare, but something had pulled her here, a feeling she couldn't shake. Now, as she looked at the stallion, her heart ached in a way she couldn't explain. He didn't deserve this. No animal did. The auctioneer cleared his throat. "Do I hear $50 for lot 34? Silence. Not a single hand was raised. $40? He tried again, his tone growing desperate. "Come on, folks. $30. Still nothing. Olivia's heart raced. She didn't have much. The crumpled bills in her pocket barely added up to $35, but as she looked at the horse, his trembling legs, the hopeless slump of his head, something inside her snapped. "I'll take him," she blurted out, her voice trembling but firm. All eyes turned to her. The auctioneer hesitated, then gestured toward her. "Sold for $30 to the young lady at the back." Her face burned as murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some people scoffed, while others looked amused. "What's she going to do with that sack of bones?" one man chuckled. Olivia ignored them, her eyes staying locked on the horse as he was led out of the ring. His steps were unsteady. She could feel her chest tightening, half with fear, half with determination. She didn't know how, but she would save him. When she approached the stallion, his gaze met hers for the first time. His eyes, though clouded with exhaustion, held a flicker of something, a spark of life buried deep but still there. "I'll call you Chance," she whispered, running a gentle hand along his bony neck. "Because that's what you deserve, a second chance." But as she led him toward the trailer, The stable hand stopped her. "You're wasting your time, kid," he said, shaking his head. "That horse isn't worth the hay you'll feed him." Olivia glanced back at Chance, her jaw tightening. "We'll see about that." The trailer door creaked open, and with a hesitant step, Chance climbed aboard. Olivia didn't look back at the auction grounds. She couldn't afford to. All that mattered now was giving this horse a fighting chance, whatever it took. As the truck rumbled down the dirt road, Olivia glanced at Chance through the rearview mirror. His eyes were closed, his head drooping. For a moment, panic surged in her chest. What if she was too late? The drive back to the farm was silent, save for the occasional groan of the trailer hitting bumps on the dirt road. Olivia's mind raced, her hands gripping the steering wheel tighter with each passing mile. She kept glancing at the rearview mirror, watching Chance sway slightly with the movement of the truck. He looked so fragile, as if a gust of wind could knock him over. When they arrived, Olivia opened the trailer door carefully. Chance didn't move at first. His legs wobbled when he tried to step out, and Olivia's heart clenched. She moved closer, speaking softly. "It's okay, boy. One step at a time." Her voice seemed to reach him. With great effort, he took a step, then another, until he was standing on the uneven ground outside the trailer. Olivia led him toward the small paddock near the barn. It wasn't much, but it would give him space to rest and recover. Her parents were waiting for her, their faces a mixture of disbelief and frustration. Her father, arms crossed, shook his head. "Olivia, what were you thinking?" he said, his voice firm but not unkind. "I couldn't leave him there," Olivia replied, her voice resolute. She gestured toward Chance, who was now standing awkwardly in the paddock, his head drooping low. "Look at him. He wouldn't have made it another day." Her mother sighed, stepping closer to her husband. "But Liv, we don't have the money or resources to take care of a horse like that. He's gonna need a vet, proper feed, and time. Time we don't have." "I'll figure it out," Olivia said quickly. "I'll do extra shifts at the diner, take care of him myself. Please, just give me a chance to help him." Her father glanced at her mother, then back at Olivia. His expression softened slightly. "You've got a month," he said, his voice gruff but reluctant. "If he doesn't improve, we'll have to make some hard decisions." Olivia nodded, swallowing the lump in her throat. She knew what hard decisions meant, but she refused to think about that now. "Thank you," she said quietly. That evening, Olivia worked tirelessly to make Chance comfortable. She gave him fresh water, mixed what little feed they had with supplements she'd picked up from the local supply store, and brushed the dirt and debris from his coat. Every brush stroke revealed more of the toll neglect had taken on him. Sores, patches of missing hair, and scars that told stories she would never know. Chance stood still, his body too weak to protest, but there was a flicker of recognition in his eyes as Olivia worked, as if he understood that someone was finally trying to help him. "Tomorrow we'll call the vet," she whispered, her hand resting gently on his shoulder. "We're going to get through this." But as the night stretched on, doubts began to creep in. Olivia sat in the barn, watching Chance as he rested on shaky legs. Could she really save him? Was she strong enough to carry the weight of this responsibility? She pulled out her phone and searched for information on caring for severely malnourished horses. The list of what he needed felt overwhelming: specialized feed, medical care, and time. So much time. As exhaustion settled over her, she leaned back against the barn wall, her eyes fluttering shut. Just as sleep was about to claim her, a soft sound broke the silence, a quiet nicker. Olivia's eyes shot open. Chance was looking at her, his ears twitching slightly. "You're still here," she murmured, a small smile tugging at her lips. "Good boy." It wasn't much, but it was a start. The next morning, Olivia was jolted awake by a commotion outside. She rushed to the paddock, her heart pounding. Chance was down, his legs folded awkwardly beneath him. He wasn't moving. Olivia's breath hitched as she sprinted toward the paddock. The sight of Chance lying motionless on the ground sent a jolt of fear through her chest. His legs were tucked awkwardly beneath him, his head resting on the dirt, eyes barely open. She dropped to her knees beside him, her hands trembling as she reached out to touch his neck. "Chance, come on," she whispered, her voice cracking. You can't give up now. The faint rise and fall of his chest was the only sign that he was still alive. Tears welled up in Olivia's eyes as she stroked his neck, her mind racing. What did she do? She had no experience with a horse this sick, and her parents wouldn't approve of spending more money on a vet visit. Her father's voice broke through her panic. She turned to see him standing at the edge of the paddock, his expression a mix of concern and resignation. Is he? He began. He's alive, Olivia said quickly, brushing away her tears. But he's weak. I need to call the vet. Her father hesitated, then nodded. Do what you need to do. I'll cover the bill for now. Olivia didn't waste a second. She ran inside, grabbed her phone, and called the local vet, Dr. Michaels. A no-nonsense woman in her 50s arrived within the hour. She knelt beside Chance, her practiced hands moving over his frail body as Olivia watched anxiously. He's malnourished and severely dehydrated, Dr. Michaels said, her tone grave. His body is shutting down from the lack of nutrients. If we don't act fast, he won't make it. What can we do? Olivia asked, her voice desperate. Dr. Michaels looked at her, then at Chance. We'll start with 4 fluids and a specialized diet, but it's going to take time, a lot of time. And even then, there's no guarantee. Olivia nodded. I'll do whatever it takes. Just tell me what he needs. The vet began setting up the 4, explaining the process as she worked. Olivia listened intently, committing every detail to memory. When Dr. Michaels finished, she handed Olivia a list of supplies and instructions for the coming weeks. You'll need to monitor him constantly, Dr. Michaels said. Small, frequent feedings. Watch for signs of improvement or decline, and be prepared for the worst. Olivia swallowed hard. I will. Thank you. The next few days were a blur of worry and exhaustion. Olivia stayed by Chance's side, feeding him tiny portions of the special mash the vet had recommended and ensuring he stayed hydrated. Her parents helped when they could, but most of the responsibility fell on Olivia's shoulders. She barely slept, her nights filled with anxious glances at the paddock, listening for any sign of distress. On the 5th day, something changed. Olivia was sitting in the barn, her head resting against the wooden wall, when she heard a rustling sound. She looked up to see Chance shifting his weight, his legs trembling as he tried to stand. Chance, she whispered, her heart pounding. She scrambled to her feet and moved closer, her hands hovering near him, ready to help if he needed it. Slowly, shakily, he pushed himself up. When he finally stood, Olivia felt tears streaming down her face. You did it, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. You're a fighter. Chance nickered softly, his ears flicking forward. It was the first time he had shown real energy since arriving at the farm. Olivia reached out, running her hand down his neck. His coat was still dull, his ribs still visible, but there was a spark in his eyes now, a spark of life. You're going to make it, she said, her voice filled with determination. I promise you, we'll get through this. That night, for the first time in a week, Olivia allowed herself to sleep. As she drifted off, she felt a sense of hope she hadn't felt in days. But deep down, she knew the battle wasn't over. Chance's recovery was only beginning, and the challenges ahead would test them both in ways she couldn't yet imagine. The next morning, Olivia woke to the sound of her father's voice. Liv, you need to see this, he called from outside. She hurried to the paddock, her heart racing. When she got there, her breath caught in her throat. Chance was standing, his ears alert, but there was something else. Another horse, larger and imposing, had wandered onto their property. Its eyes were locked on Chance. What's going on? Olivia asked, her voice tinged with confusion and concern. Her father frowned. Looks like we've got company. Olivia stared at the unfamiliar horse, standing a few feet away from Chance. Its coat was a sleek, dark chestnut, and it carried itself with an air of confidence that immediately set it apart. Its muscular frame was the stark opposite of Chance's frail body. The two horses stood facing each other, the tension between them palpable. Where did it come from? Olivia asked, her voice low, as if afraid to startle the new arrival. Her father stepped closer, his eyes narrowing as he examined the horse. No idea. Could have wandered in from a neighboring farm, but judging by the brand on its flank, it's someone's prized animal. Olivia's gaze shifted to the brand, a crisp, circular mark just above its hind leg. Whoever owned this horse clearly valued it, and she wondered why it had ended up here. The chestnut horse snorted, taking a step forward. Chance flinched but didn't back away. Instead, he raised his head slightly, a faint but noticeable spark of defiance in his eyes. Olivia felt her breath hitch. This was the first time Chance had shown any hint of assertiveness. "We need to find out who owns it," her father said, crossing his arms. "We can't afford to have it scaring Chance while he's still recovering." Olivia shook her head. "He's not scared. Look at him. He's standing his ground." Her father frowned but didn't argue. Instead, he headed back to the house to make calls, leaving Olivia alone with the two horses. She moved closer to the paddock, her eyes fixed on Chance. His posture, though still weak, seemed stronger. The presence of the chestnut horse was sparking something in him, a will to engage, to prove himself. "Who are you?" Olivia whispered, addressing the chestnut horse. "And why are you here?" The horse flicked its ears toward her, then back at Chance. It was as if it recognized something in the frail stallion, a challenge or perhaps a kinship. Whatever the reason, it wasn't leaving. Over the next few hours, Olivia watched as the two horses circled each other. Chance was hesitant, his steps cautious, but there was no fear in his movements. The chestnut horse, for its part, remained calm yet assertive, as though testing Chance's resolve. By evening, Olivia's father returned with news. "The horse belongs to the Whitaker farm, about 5 miles from here," he said. "I called them, and they'll send someone to pick it up tomorrow." Olivia's heart sank slightly. She had grown attached to the chestnut horse in just a few hours, but she knew it wasn't hers to keep. "What's its name?" she asked. "Ranger," her father replied. "Apparently, it's one of their best horses. Not sure how it ended up here." That night, Olivia checked on Chance one last time before heading to bed. To her surprise, Ranger had positioned himself near the edge of the paddock closest to Chance. The two horses stood side by side, their postures relaxed. Olivia smiled, a sense of warmth filling her chest. "You're not so bad, are you, Ranger?" she murmured. "Thanks for looking out for him." The next morning, Olivia woke early, knowing Ranger's owner would arrive soon. When she reached the paddock, she was met with a sight that stopped her in her tracks. Chance was trotting slowly and unsteadily, but trotting nonetheless. Ranger followed close behind, as if urging him forward. "Dad," Olivia called, her voice filled with excitement. "Come see this." Her father hurried over, his expression softening as he watched the scene. "Well, I'll be damned," he muttered. "Looks like that horse gave him some fight." Before they could say more, a truck pulled up the driveway. A man stepped out, his boots crunching against the gravel. He tipped his hat and extended a hand. "Name's Whitaker. I hear you got my horse." Olivia nodded reluctantly, glancing back at Ranger. "He showed up yesterday. He's been helping Chance." Whitaker followed her gaze and let out a low whistle. "That old thing? Didn't think he had much fight left in him." Olivia bristled, but said nothing. She wasn't about to let anyone insult Chance, not after everything he'd been through. "Well, I appreciate you looking after Ranger," Whitaker said, moving toward the paddock. But as he approached, Ranger trotted away, placing himself protectively between Chance and Whitaker. The man frowned. "That's strange. He's never done that before." Olivia stepped forward, her heart pounding. Maybe he's not ready to leave." Whitaker hesitated, then sighed. "Tell you what, keep him for a week. If he's helping that horse of yours, maybe it's better he stays a while." Olivia's face lit up. "Thank you. I promise I'll take good care of him." As the truck pulled away, Olivia turned back to the paddock. Chance and Ranger stood together, their bond undeniable. For the first time, Olivia felt like they might just have a fighting chance. But as she looked at the horizon, she couldn't shake the feeling that their biggest challenge was yet to come. The days following Whitaker's departure were a whirlwind of progress and determination. With Ranger by his side, Chance began to show signs of recovery that Olivia hadn't dared to hope for. His once timid steps grew steadier, and the hollow in his eyes was slowly replaced by a spark of resilience. Ranger seemed to act as both a protector and a motivator, challenging Chance to push his limits while keeping a watchful eye on him. Olivia devoted every spare moment to their care. When she wasn't at school or working shifts at the diner, she was at the paddock mixing specialized feed for Chance or brushing his coat, which had started to regain its natural shine. She had even started leading him on short walks around the property. Each step was a victory in its own right. One afternoon, as Olivia was adjusting Chance's halter, her father approached, leaning on the paddock fence. His expression was softer than usual, his gruff demeanor tempered by something akin to pride. "He's looking better," he said. Olivia smiled, her hand resting on Chance's neck. "He's stronger every day. I think he's going to make it." Her father nodded. "You've done good, Liv. I didn't think it was possible, but you proved me wrong." The words warmed Olivia's heart. For weeks, she had been fighting not just for Chance, but to prove to herself and her family that she could handle the responsibility. Hearing her father acknowledge her efforts felt like the first step toward bridging the gap between them. But even as Chance improved, Olivia couldn't shake the feeling that his story wasn't over. There was something about him, an untapped potential that went beyond simple survival. One evening, as she sat in the paddock watching Chance and Ranger graze, a thought struck her. What if he could do more? She murmured to herself. The idea seemed absurd at first. Chance was still recovering. Asking anything more of him felt unfair. But the more she thought about it, the more it made sense. What if his recovery wasn't just about healing his body, but giving him a purpose? The next day, Olivia visited the town library, combing through old books and articles about horse training and rehabilitation. She read about horses that had been written off as hopeless, only to become champions in endurance riding, jumping, or even dressage. The stories filled her with inspiration and determination. When she returned home, she found her father tinkering with the tractor. "Dad," she said, her voice hesitant but hopeful. "What if we trained Chance, not just for recovery, but for something bigger?" Her father looked up, wiping grease from his hands. "Like what?" "Competing takes money, equipment, trainers, entry fees. We can't afford that." "I know," Olivia said quickly. "But I'll figure out. I can work extra shifts, sell some of my old things, and I'll do the training myself. I have this feeling, Dad. He's meant for more." Her father studied her for a long moment, then sighed. "You've already surprised me once. Maybe you'll do it again." With her father's reluctant approval, Olivia threw herself into training. She started with small steps, leading Chance through basic exercises to rebuild his strength and confidence. Ranger, as always, stayed close, occasionally nudging Chance forward when he hesitated. The progress was slow, but Olivia didn't waver. Each day brought new challenges. Chance would refuse to follow a command, or his energy would falter, but Olivia met every setback with patience and determination. And with each small victory, she felt their bond grow stronger. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Olivia stood in the paddock, watching Chance canter in a wide circle. His movements were still a bit awkward, but there was a grace to him that hadn't been there before. She could feel it in her gut. He was ready for something bigger. But just as she was beginning to believe in their future, a shadow fell over the paddock. Olivia turned to see Whitaker leaning against the fence, his face unreadable. "I heard you've been training him," he said, his tone casual but laced with something darker. "You really think that bag of bones has what it takes?" Olivia's heart pounded. "He's not just a bag of bones," she said firmly. "And yes, I do." Whitaker chuckled, shaking his head. "Well, I hope you're right, because if he embarrasses himself in a competition, it won't just be your pride on the line. People don't forget failure." He tipped his hat and walked away, leaving Olivia with a pit in her stomach. She turned back to Chance, who had stopped cantering and was now standing still, his ears twitching. "It's okay, boy," she whispered, stepping closer to him. "We're not done yet." As night settled over the farm, Olivia felt a renewed sense of determination. Whitaker's words stung, but they only fueled her resolve. Chance had already defied the odds once. Together, they would do it again. The days leading up to the competition were a blur of effort and determination. Olivia poured every ounce of her energy into preparing Chance, waking before dawn to train him and staying up late to research techniques. With Ranger's steadfast companionship, Chance continued to improve. His movements grew more confident, and his once dull coat started to shine with health. The town's annual equestrian showcase was a modest event, but it drew a competitive crowd. Riders from nearby farms brought their best horses, each vying for the title that promised prestige and, for some, redemption. Olivia knew they were underdogs. No one expected the skeletal horse she had saved from the brink of death to be a contender. But that didn't matter. This was about more than winning. It was about proving Chance's worth to herself, to her father, and to the world. The morning of the competition was cold and crisp, the air buzzing with the energy of participants and spectators. Olivia loaded Chance into the trailer with Ranger by his side. Her hands trembled with a mixture of nerves and excitement. Her father stood nearby, his usual stoic expression softened by a glimmer of pride. "You're ready for this," he said as she climbed into the driver's seat. Olivia nodded, her jaw set. "We're ready." When they arrived at the grounds, the stairs started immediately. Whispers rippled through the crowd as Olivia led Chance and Ranger to their assigned stall. Most of the comments were dismissive, a few openly mocking. "Is that the horse from the auction?" one man sneered. "Looks like he should have stayed there." Olivia ignored them, her focus on Chance. She could see the tension in his body, his ears flicking nervously at the unfamiliar sounds. She placed a hand on his neck, her voice soft but steady. "You got this, boy, just like we practiced." The first event was a basic agility course, designed to test the horse's responsiveness and coordination. Olivia's heart raced as she guided Chance into the ring. The announcer introduced them with little enthusiasm, his tone making it clear they were seen as a novelty at best. But as the whistle blew and Olivia gave the first command, something shifted. Chance moved with purpose, his strides measured and deliberate. He weaved through the cones and leapt over the low hurdles, not with the grace of a seasoned competitor, but with the determination of one who had something to prove. By the end of the course, the crowd had fallen silent. When Chance crossed the finish line, a smattering of applause broke out, hesitant at first, then growing louder. Olivia's chest swelled with pride as she patted Chance's neck. "Good job, boy," she whispered. "You showed them." The next events were more challenging, but Chance rose to the occasion each time. He stumbled once during the speed round, drawing a few snickers from the sidelines, but Olivia didn't let it shake her. She knew his journey wasn't about perfection. It was about progress. By the time the final event arrived, Olivia and Chance had gained the attention of nearly everyone at the showcase, including Whitaker, who stood watching with his arms crossed, seeming begrudgingly impressed. The last event was a high jump, a true test of strength and trust between horse and rider. Olivia hesitated as she approached the starting line. The jumps were higher than anything Chance had faced before, and she could feel his apprehension as she adjusted the reins. "You don't have to do this," she murmured, leaning close to his ear. "But if you're ready, I know you can." Chance pawed at the ground, his ears swiveling forward. Olivia took a deep breath and urged him forward. The first jump came quickly, and for a moment, she feared he wouldn't clear it. But with a powerful push, Chance soared over the bar, landing with a grace that took her breath away. The crowd erupted into cheers, and Olivia felt tears sting her eyes. They weren't done yet, but in that moment, she knew they had already won. As they approached the final jump, Olivia could feel her heart pounding her chest. This was it, the culmination of months of hard work and unrelenting belief. The bar was set higher than any they had faced, and the tension in the air was palpable. Olivia leaned forward, her voice firm but gentle. "Let's do this, Chance." With a surge of energy, Chance launched himself into the air. For a split second, it felt like time had stopped. Then they landed clean and steady, and the crowd erupted into a roar of applause. Whitaker approached them as Olivia dismounted, his expression unreadable. "I'll admit I didn't think you had it in you," he said, tipping his hat. "But you proved me wrong." Olivia smiled, her hand resting on Chance's neck. He proved us all wrong. As the sun set over the showcase grounds, Olivia stood beside Chance and Ranger, a sense of accomplishment settling over her. They hadn't taken first place, but it didn't matter. Chance's transformation from a rejected, frail horse to a competitor had been the true victory. But as Olivia looked out at the horizon, she couldn't shake the feeling that their journey was far from over. The days following the competition were a whirlwind of emotions for Olivia. Although she and Chance hadn't won first place, the response they received was overwhelming. Spectators and competitors alike approached her with words of admiration. Their initial skepticism had been replaced by genuine respect. Chance, the horse once deemed worthless, had captured the hearts of everyone who saw him. Back at the farm, life slowly returned to its usual rhythm. Chance continued to grow stronger, his body filling out, and his coat gleaming in the sunlight. Ranger remained his constant companion, the bond between the two horses as unshakable as the one between Olivia and Chance. One afternoon, as Olivia was brushing Chance's mane, a familiar truck pulled into the driveway. Whitaker stepped out, his boots crunching against the gravel. Olivia's father came out of the barn, wiping his hands on a rag. "Whitaker," he greeted, his tone cautious. "What brings you here?" Whitaker tipped his hat. "I came to talk to your daughter." Olivia's heart skipped a beat. She stepped forward, her brush still in hand. "What is it?" she asked, her voice steady despite the nervous flutter in her chest. Whitaker took a deep breath, his gaze shifting to Chance. "I'll admit I didn't think much of that horse when I saw him at the auction. But after watching him at the showcase, well, I can't ignore potential when I see it." Olivia's brow furrowed. "What are you saying?" "I've got connections," Whitaker said, his tone matter of fact. "Trainers, sponsors, access to competitions you'd never dream of. I think Chance could go far, farther than you can take him here." Olivia felt her stomach twist. She glanced at Chance, who was nuzzling Ranger's neck. The thought of letting him go, of handing him over to someone else, made her chest ache. "I'm not selling him," she said firmly. Whitaker chuckled. "I'm not asking you to sell him. I'm offering a partnership. You keep him, but I'll fund his training and entry fees. In exchange, we split any winnings 50-50ths. Olivia's father stepped closer, his expression unreadable. "That's a generous offer." "It is," Whitaker agreed. "But it's not just about the money. That horse has something special, and I'd hate to see it wasted." Olivia hesitated, her mind racing. She knew Whitaker's offer was a chance of a lifetime, one that could change everything for Chance and for her. But the thought of trusting someone else with his future filled her with doubt. "I need time to think about it," she said finally. Whitaker nodded. "Take all the time you need, but don't wait too long. Opportunities like this don't come around often." That night, Olivia sat in the barn, leaning against the wall as Chance and Ranger dozed nearby. Her father joined her, sitting down with a heavy sigh. "You got a big decision to make," he said. "I know," Olivia murmured. I don't want to lose him." "You're not losing him," her father said gently. "You're giving him a chance to be something bigger. Isn't that what you've been working toward?" Olivia looked at Chance, her chest tightening. Her father was right. Everything she had done, every sleepless night, every sacrifice, had been for Chance's future. This wasn't just about her. It was about giving him the life he deserved. The next morning, Olivia called Whitaker. "I'll do it," she said, her voice steady. "But I have conditions. I stay involved in every decision about his training and care. He's still my horse." Whitaker chuckled. "Fair enough. Welcome to the big leagues." Months passed, and Chance's training began in earnest. With professional guidance and Olivia's unwavering dedication, he blossomed into a true competitor. His story spread, attracting media attention and inspiring others. People came from miles around to see the horse that had defied the odds, and Olivia couldn't have been prouder. At their first major competition, Chance walked into the arena with his head held high. Olivia sat in the stands, her heart pounding as she watched him move with the confidence and grace of a champion. When he cleared the final jump and the crowd erupted into applause, tears filled her eyes as she stood by his side afterward, stroking his neck. "We did it, Chance," she whispered. "We really did it." But deep down, she knew this was only the beginning. As the sun set over the rolling hills of the countryside, casting golden hues across the fields, Olivia stood at the edge of the paddock, watching Chance gallop freely alongside Ranger. His mane flowed in the breeze, his strides confident and powerful, a far cry from the frail, defeated horse she had found months ago. Tears welled in her eyes as she realized how far they had both come. Chance hadn't just survived. He had achieved the impossible, proving that even the most broken spirits can rise again with love and determination. Their journey wasn't just about healing. It was about discovering purpose. For Olivia, Chance became more than a rescue mission. He became a symbol of what she was capable of achieving against all odds. And for Chance, Olivia gave him not only a second chance at life, but also a reason to keep fighting. Together, they inspired everyone around them, showing that greatness often emerges from the deepest struggles. This story is a reminder that every act of kindness, no matter how small, has the potential to create ripples of change. Whether you're rescuing an animal or standing up for someone who needs a voice, your actions can transform lives, including your own. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring tales of hope and resilience. Share this story with someone who needs a reminder that even in the face of despair, miracles are possible. And let us know in the comments, what lesson did you take away from Olivia and Chance's journey? Thank you for joining us today, and remember, never underestimate the power of believing in someone or something when they need it most.